I'm going to start.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Well, that's a standard value. It's 3% a month. Okay, so I just want everyone to continue enjoying. I just want to give a little introduction before we hear the class, and they're gonna continue eating. Then they're gonna clear and serve more food. So just enjoy. Just to give everyone a little bit of a background, what our goal is and what we're doing here. So we recently launched a, we meaning the Kollel, maybe it's called together with the law firm of Stockton and Braverman, and who Josh is here, Josh Kahn is here, and Bob Stock is here, and an initiative it's the Business Halacha initiative. That's really the goal is to educate people in business halacha and understanding how to do your business properly, educating people in real world, real life practices in business that come up and that you need halachic guidance for. But in order to do that, you need two things. You need people that know the halacha, and you need people that can implement the halacha in the real legal world when people have business, how to do it properly. So the partnership that we created is such that we're on the one hand trying to educate the people and give shiurim, bring classes, all different sorts of scenarios that come up, business ethics, call it halacha, about things that come up for business people in their lives, in their world. But at the same time also working together very closely with the law firm so that they should understand what the lawyer's obligation is, whether it's how to write a contract that will be a contract that can be binding in a beis din, whether it's encouraging people to understanding the process, whether it's we just did a whole series about estate planning and halacha and different things where the attorneys can also understand their role. And together it's really a big Kiddush Hashem. So we really want to thank the law firm. Again, the representatives are here, some of the attorneys are here, and Bob and Josh are here. So we want to thank them for this vision and coming together in this partnership. It's a very, very big Kiddush Hashem, and hopefully we'll bring them and us and everyone involved much success. B'ezras Hashem. What? Yeah. So and the other part of that is we have to create dayanim. We have to create people, rabbanim that know know the halacha is a business, and so therefore part of this initiative was that we created a chabura, a group of people, rabbanim, tamidei chachamim, learning the halachas of Choshen Mishpat, of business halacha at the Kollel every afternoon. It's eight rabbanim that are there learning it every day, and it's under the auspices of the same beis din, of beis din Misharm in Lakewood. It's also providing the structure and the curriculum for that. So Rabbi Palti, the Rav of Presidential States, comes every day to the Kollel, makes time in his schedule to learn this topic, as he's part of the Chabura. And we asked him to give the shir here, bring it down, what they're learning to the people to really feel what the real life scenarios are. In addition, I will mention just two things. Hopefully at the end of the shir, shir should be over by 2 o'clock, then we'll bring out dessert, and we'll hopefully have mincha here for those that stay afterwards, probably about 2:15 or so, so you just have an idea of the schedule. Another project that we did with the initiative, we put out a book about real estate. Estate planning and halacha. It's out there, available if you want to take one on your way out. And if you next week, one of the dayanim of Lakewood that's involved with Chabur will be here. If anyone has a question or wants to make an appointment with him, you could speak to myself, or anyone at the Kollel. And just before Rabbi Palti speaks, I want to give a big yashar koach to Rabbi Parsons, Rocky, for again putting this all together. We're seeing to it that the real contact person between everyone, making sure everything is going smoothly. So thank you very much, and Rabbi Palti.
All right, everybody, please keep on eating. I'm not going to fight with your sushi. No question about it. So first of all, for sure to thank also the Kollel for the initiative. You know, I'm not from America, as you can obviously see by now. I already opened my mouth. And when I got to America, all of a sudden I started hearing people saying, you know, Moses is Moses, business is business. I don't know who in the world came up with that shtus. There is no such thing. Actually, it's just the opposite. If there is any place where there is Moshe Rabbeinu, that is in business. Much more than anywhere else. People think that Yiddishkeit applies maybe in shul, maybe in the Beis Medrash, but there's many more halachos and mitzvos d'oraisa that probably apply in anybody's business than anywhere else. So the initiative to be able to learn Choshen Mishpat, to try to apply it, to bring it into real life, it's surely amazing. And for us to be able to have in Miami a Kollel, where we're able to go and recharge our energies, both spiritually and intellectually, and to be able to learn and then bring forth the Torah, it's truly amazing. What a schus to be able to be a part of. Thank you so much for that. So they said the story with Rabbi Salanter that there was this guy who was a sheikhet, and one day he comes over to him and he says, Rabbi, you know what? I don't want to be a sheikhet anymore. He said, why not? He says, you know, I'm afraid maybe one day I'll make a tiny little mistake and then I'm going to give somebody to eat treif. So I'd rather quit. Okay, so what are you going to do? He said, I want to open up a little store and, you know, I'll sell some stuff and that's it. He said, you must be crazy. Really, when you're doing shchita, the amount of isurim and the chances of doing something wrong is not comparable to what can happen in a store. The amount of mitzvahs d'oraisa and problems that you can have in a store, if you sell a little more than you're supposed to, a little less than you're supposed to, you're over gezela, you are over gnevus das, so many things that you could be over, and you much rather stay as a sheikhet if really what you want to do is prevent yourself from doing isurim. So there's no question that anybody dealing with business has to learn as much as possible these halachos and try to keep them, and that's actually our greatest level, which is yeshurun, which is the highest level of klal Yisrael when we are yashar, when we are truly straight. So trying to bring it down to life. There was this case that you probably heard of because it was all over the place, that there was this guy selling iPads, I think it was Amazon or online, whatever, and then there was a glitch or he made a mistake, and instead of putting them up, I think for, I don't know, $199, it ended up going for like $19.99 or something like that, like a tenth of the price. So let's say that happens and you go online and you find something that clearly should be worth more, but you bought it for a lot less money than it's supposed to be worth. So what happens then? Does he have a right, the person selling it, does he have a right to be able to claim his money back? After all, he put it online, that's the price that he set up, and you already bought it, you paid for it. Could be it's already on its way, maybe you already got it in this day and age with next day delivery or whatever it is. So what happens then? Do you get your money back? You don't get your money back? Does he have a claim? Can he take you to Beis Din? Let's assume for now that it's all between Yidden. Can I take somebody like that to Beis Din? I was the one selling it, and now can I take him to Beis Din and say, you owe me, you only paid me $20 for something that's worth $200. You owe me $180.
That's Amazon's problem.
As a lawyer, I could take you to Beis Din or hire you.
Whoever wants to take the Beis Din. Why is it not Amazon's problem? They made the mistake.
No, he listed it.
Yeah, not Amazon.
He listed it wrong.
Yeah, and I don't think this Bezos guy, I don't think he's so Jewish. I didn't see him.
Bezos, no.
No, he's not. Okay, so he didn't come to Kollel. I didn't see him in Kollel. So, can I take him to Beis Din or not? Can I claim back the difference? What's the real price, first of all, of the item? The real price is $200 or about. Maybe it goes between $190 and $210, but there is a price. So. This certainly, by the way, this is a real case. It has happened more than once. It also happened with some airlines. I don't know if you saw, and and people, I don't know if they took advantage. I don't know what happened exactly then, but there was this case where somebody saw actually someone he knew who made a mistake. He went out and he bought basically the whole entire stack. It's called the whole entire stack of iPads. He bought them all to prevent the loss of his friend, and the guy was When he realized the mistake and everything was bought out, he thought, that's it, I'm doomed, I lost a tremendous amount of money. And then he gets the phone call from this guy or an email telling him, don't worry about it, I bought it all, I'm going to give it back to you, and just give me back the whatever money it is that I paid. So, but that's a tzaddik. The question is, not always you have, not everybody involved is necessarily a tzaddik, and it's certainly important to understand, first of all, the law, and then lifnim mishura sadin, going beyond the letter of the law. So what happens? What happens in a case like this? Am I allowed to take you to Beis Din or not? Did I do something wrong, by the way? If I bought it, did I do something wrong? Or I'm just being...
If you knew that was the wrong price.
You have to assume.
Yeah, I knew it was the wrong price. Yeah, so they assume it was a mistake, they do something wrong, and it, I don't know, it says Goldberg's iPads, I don't know. So it's clear that the guy is a Yid, and did I do something wrong? Should I have not done it? Should I have not bought it? So these are the questions. So, yeah.
Yeah, if you realize the guy made a mistake, then you shouldn't take advantage of someone. You should tell him, I think you made a mistake, the real price is such and such.
And there's no one to tell.
If the guy adjusts the price, then we can buy it. If he says, no, I want to give it away for some reason, then I think it's okay to take it. If he realizes that, for whatever reason, he wants to sell it under the market, I think that as long as he's aware, I think it's okay to accept it.
So let's say I already did it. First of all, the question is whether I have to or not. To begin with, you're saying you should. The question, what does you should mean? You should morally or legally? As I imagine in law there is also such a difference. Is there? By law, there's morally. Oh, there's no moral. There's legal and not legal.
So if someone makes a mistake and he advises you, look, I made a mistake and you didn't use the product yet, it hasn't been opened, hasn't been used or whatever, incorporate it into something else, I think you should give it back or adjust the price.
What does American law say? I mean, here we have some lawyers. What would happen? Would he be able to take me to court?
American law, especially if it was sold by a merchant, American law, you can keep it.
You can keep it. I thought so. Okay. So Mexican law also, by the way, most probably so. Don't worry about it. But in Mexico, there must be some way.
If it wasn't advertised price.
Yeah, you for sure should be able to bribe yourself to something. I don't know, but there has to be something like that. There's laws in Mexico. It would be interesting to check that. Anyways, so this brings us to a very important mitzvah, the Oraisa, which is the mitzvah of Oina. It appears in Parshas Behar, in several other places it appears also. And that is that, I think the words that you used before, taking advantage, I don't know what's the perfect translation of Oida, abusing, taking advantage of somebody. The Torah says that you're not allowed to abuse somebody in two ways. Neither could you abuse somebody economically, that's Oina's mammon, and or you cannot abuse somebody also with words, emotionally, let's say, which is Oina's Dvarim. By the way, sorry if I use Ashkenazi lingo, I'm really Sephardi, but I learned English in yeshiva in Israel, so my English comes together with the Ashkenazi stuff.
English.
Yeah, and my wife is Ashkenazi, also American, so by orders I have to follow the rules. So anyways, so that's mitzvah soina. What does that mean? It means that I cannot economically, emotionally means that I cannot hurt you. Very literally, I cannot do anything that's going to hurt you. And economically means that I cannot charge you more than a shtus, which is approximately 18-20%. We're not going to get into the exact details of how to measure it, but I cannot charge you more than 20% of an item above market price. It's not above what I paid for it, I don't know how you call that, but above market price, I cannot charge more than 20, but also I cannot underpay more than 20%. Between the range of a sixth, it's considered, at least Rabbi Kiveger says that, others say that, but it's considered within the range of business. There is the Pesach Tshuva, brings some Sofer also, it's a range of business that I'm still, there's a certain range. You cannot always be exactly doing business and sticking to the market price or investigate it fully. So there is a reasonable range between which I'm not being, let's call it in today's terminology, fair business practices. I'm not taking advantage of you. I'm just trying to sell something for the price, the right price. Maybe I overpriced it by, in our case of $200, maybe I overpriced it by $5-10. Maybe underpriced it by $5-10. Nishka ferlach. It's not a big deal. But beyond that, so on that point, I would get my money back. On the point of the sixth of, let's say, the 18%, I would get my money back, and above that, the whole time transaction is null and void. So if you would take this guy to Beis Din, it would work differently. In our case, that it was 10 times more of the price, and again, it's important to know that it's not just for the person selling. It's also for the person buying. You cannot underpay for an item. I think that's an amazing chidush. That is not something that people would just think on their own or etc. You cannot you would say, the guy, it's his responsibility. He sets up the prices. If that's what he wanted to do, he told me that's the price. What am I supposed to do? I'm just going and I shopped and I found it and I bought it. Yeah.
Suppose the buyer didn't realize it was a mistake, and he took the product and he incorporated it into something else. And now, in order to return it, it would be very expensive. So he would be prejudiced because of the other person's mistake. Does that fall into...
You would have to take a loss?
Right, so if the other person didn't deliberately cause the loss of the original seller, so then, things happen in life and you have a loss. The point is that once you have responsibility to take it back, you overcharge. Even if you overcharge unwittingly, not on purpose, the sale is void and you have to take the item back and you have to give him back his money. So in our case, you would be able to take these people to Beis Din, even though you made a mistake. He had no intention of taking advantage of you, but at the end of the day, he did. So you would be able to take him to Beis Din and recover the $180 that he was supposed to pay you, or the contract transaction is just cancelled. He gives you back the iPad, you give him back his $20, and that's the end of it. Part of what we see, which is amazing, what Rabbi Blecher was mentioning before, is how these halachos that in Shulchan Aruch sometimes you will see very soon, especially in our third case, sound a little bit like in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Gemara, they sound a little bit like from actually the Yar from like 2,000 years ago, and how come they end up making a difference in this day and age? Okay, let's move on to...
You're saying the iPad case, the buyer could keep it at a 16% discount?
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
meaning
if it was like a kill bought.
No.
Oh yeah, it's already done. Yeah, it's already done.
140.
Yeah. No, he has to give. He already has to give the full price.
Why full price?
Because the range is only assuming that nothing went wrong.
Once you overcharge more than the 20%, and you can't just knock it down to 20.
Exactly. It's all cancelled.
The whole thing's canceled.
The whole thing is cancelled, and if I do want it, then I have to pay the normal price.
But he's asking, wanting to buy.
Yeah, use the 20%, use the 20% range.
20% off, right.
So maybe the guy is going to be nice. This is a lot that you can do. By the way, let's say I'm overcharging. Am I allowed to? Let's say I deliberately go till the 20%. You know the way Jews are. You you learn halacha and then you become a whistle, and then you go you go till the 19.5%. I'm not very now. I didn't overcharge you, but I do know that it's not a fair price. Am I allowed to do that? Deliberately charging you
Under 6 is mutter? That's the question, really.
That's the question. Lechatchila or b'di'evet? In other words, am I allowed to do this deliberately, or if it happened, I just price my things. I try to stay within the range. I don't need to go crazy, and I have a certain range. It's okay. But am I deliberately allowed to charge you more than I know that you can get anywhere else?
Can I ask you a different question? Can I deliberately charge 19.5% below the amount?
Right. Same question. Same question. So if you really, really do it deliberately, you could be moichel. So in your case, like I thought you were asking on the end of the person buying, right? On the person selling, you could be moichel anything you want. I can give you a gift. I can give you an iPad as a gift, so that's not the problem, right? In Dinem Mamonos, you always have... The what?
What legal significance does a 20% have if I give my
No. If he's overpaying, or if he doesn't know.
I sell it for 50%.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Exactly. He doesn't know. He didn't do it deliberately. He doesn't know. Exactly. If he knows, and he really wants that to happen. By the way, this brought also in Halacha. What happens if I am a closeout sale or something, and this is what I want? I know I'm selling under market price, and I just need to get rid of merchandise or whatever. So then it's not a problem, you know.
Is the reason that the Torah allows us to charge 6% or 6 more is because he knows that there's a wide range of how much people charge. Not everyone charges the same item. So that range, the norm is 6%, a 6 up or a 6 down. Right? iPads can go from $200, from $180 to $220, right?
Right,
so
right.
Who determines the market value? So 200 is the average, so you can go 6 more or 6 less, and that makes sense.
So you're bringing an issue that has a high level of complexity, which is exactly how to determine market value. That's a story in itself. Some will say that you need to make an average, right? You need to make a little bit of a market analysis and make an average. You know, 5 stores that sell it. What's the average? That's the market value, and that's where you can go up to the 20% up or down. Some say that actually this is a range, and then you can only move 20% up from the range or below.
But that's like very hard to determine. I'm saying.
Right.
It's very. It's
If
one.
I buy iPads for $20,
Right.
I can sell them for $100.
That's one of
But
the great
someone else
challenges.
pays $100,
Actually,
you know, and sells
iPads is going to be good because the price usually, because it's Apple, stays within a certain very strict range. Other things is going to be crazy, and okay, that's an issue in itself. How to determine exactly the market price is certainly going to be an issue.
A lot of things in the market that determine based on supply and demand.
Right.
We've seen
Everything,
that in
no?
COVID, we've seen that in COVID what happened with cars. Cars
Right.
used to sell for 20,000, became 40,000.
Right.
And that goes along with, especially with electronics and everything else we're doing with scarcity.
Right.
How do you factor? It's not a fixed position.
No, but market price is what's today at the moment of the sale. So you're right. Sometimes the market price may be below cost. No. Sometimes people, because of the market, are having to sell their stuff even for less than they bought it for.
I'm in a business where long lead items have it's a norm within the business. You have to order products 6 to 9 months in advance to get it. Sometimes I need the product now. In order to get the product now, I have to pay a premium to get it now. I can buy it at market price, let's say it's $1,000 in 6 months or 9 months from now. If I want it now, I have to pay $3,000 for it, and it's fair market. It changes based upon so many different variables.
Yeah, and the person buying it, the other people selling like you had to do probably the same thing as you. That's why there's a market price. Everybody recognizes what's needed to be able to sell something, to make a profit that's decent and makes it worthwhile.
I think that the line would be, does the seller sense that he can take advantage of the buyer because, oh, you need it now? Oh, second. You know,
I'm paying $3,000 for something I can
okay,
get for
so
$1,000.
that means I don't know if that's a market. It sounds like I don't know the scenario, but I think it would depend on if the seller is doing it to take advantage of the buyer. If that's the market, there's a market for that. If there's no market for it and he's taking advantage of the scenario, that's where the problem comes in.
Like in COVID, some people were, there's a word for it in English, some people were taking advantage, what?
Price gouging.
Price gouging, exactly. Like some guys were taking the little Purell, whatever, disinfectant, and they were like buying it from all over the place. There was these 2 guys who were going all over the place and buying it, and then just selling it whatever they want, so that would be asur. If the guy was a yid, you would be able to pay him the basic.
It's a game of supply and demand.
No, but if there's a market, and there was a market price, and they were selling it way above the market price, you can't.
Who determines the market price? You get your item from 190, I get my item from 180. So I can.
That's a range.
Where in also geography makes a difference. Market price is not the same thing. You can avocados in Mexico are worth for $1 you can buy a kilo. Here you don't even get one for $1. Shem yirachem aleinu. Right? So of course geography plays, it's not worldwide. It has to be geographically speaking, which is also an issue. How do you determine the exact geographic zone for for the market price? It's an issue.
But what differentiate promotions and sales in airlines?
That's what I'm saying. If you are 100% sure that the reason why he brought it below market, or even in Basin, you're going to be able to prove that. The guy selling it is taking you to Basin saying he's supposed to pay me more, but you can say, 1 second, he was closing out. He really put deliberately the prices low, willingly and knowingly, and then you have no problem. Basin is going to be in your side. He's allowed to sell it below, and then he's allowed to sell it below. I cannot buy it below
without him knowing.
Exactly.
about 160.
Can you just contrast? I think it's a case everyone's familiar with. Can you contrast Purell during COVID versus buying this lemon-looking object in October? Explain to me how that works in Halacha.
Oh, there is no question that the Stroigim are a big case of this. So what happens when
obviously it's
this yellow-looking?
Yeah,
I think only Jews are capable of selling you a lemon for $200. Nobody else in the world. So what do you do with the Stroigim? There's a market price for sure at the same time.
So when is there not a market price?
The what?
When is there not? Meaning, if Stroigim are fine for $400,
Purell is also a market
then Purell's also.
No,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't, because the same way.
Somebody's
Everyone could have done what
The
you
market
did.
price for an S-stroke, not for a lemon.
Everyone did what you
Go
could
buy a
have done.
lemon, shkoyach, go.
Nobody else could have
Good.
gone to the
No,
store.
I think what he's asking is, what happens if there's a market price for lemons, right?
So you're taking advantage
And here I'm taking a lemon, a nice, beautiful lemon, and I'm selling it to you for 10 times the price.
But it's also
Isn't
about
that
it's
a
also about the
problem?
time.
Isn't Hollywood was Stroigim?
Right. What did we say before? It's the moment. Because the market price changes, and it could even change constantly. So it's the moment. So many things can change between a month from now, etc.
Why is that different than the Purell?
Why?
During the time of COVID-19, there was a huge market
And
demand.
if the market price change, you're right. If the market price change, you're right, and it's not even price gouging, and whatever it was, it was. It doesn't matter how much profit you make.
But you say taking advantage of the buyer, but let's say you're marking it up 20-25%, and buyers are paying. The buyers are willing to pay. So
This is the question. What's the market? What's not the market?
Yeah, so that's a question. We're not gonna get into that right now. Actually, that's gonna have to bring you to Kollel, guys. Sorry, you don't just get everything now, every night at what time, you know? Yeah. You can the whole day. You can come down to Kollel, and then we'll go on.
We have 2 more cases?
I'm gonna skip already one because of the time, but I'm gonna get to the last one. Yeah, just 1 second.
Today we live in a society with a lot of information. Go online, check the prices, comparison chart. You don't have to leave in your house. There's a lot of information. To what extent is the person responsible for checking out what they're doing? Can they just say, "Oh, I'm relying on the seller"? And if he cheats me, I'm going to pay them to
Oh, great question. So first of all, there are some who write that if you are... Yeah, they already hear the question. To what extent I have to do my research to be able to know? I'm buying an item, I'm just sitting at home, and I just bought it. Am I supposed to be so worried that it is or is not? So first of all, some say that if you really were completely innocent, and you had no idea, you don't know that iPads cost more, they cost less, and you just bought something, you don't need to worry about it until somebody comes up to you and he says, listen, you really underpaid me by X and X amount, and then, okay, you may need to give it back, not to give it back, etc. And also, in general, the seller is more responsible for making sure that the prices are correct than the buyer. But let me move to the next case so that we can finish it in the few minutes that we have left, because it's fascinating. We actually heard this shiur by Rabbi Mendel Weinberger, and applies another aspect of the mitzvah soina, or at least the fact that you need to be careful when you are selling something, buying something, that things are as they should be. So there's this case that this guy bought a ring for his chasuna, for his wedding, that he's going to use at the chasuna, and he's going to give it to his bride, to the kala. He's going to say, "Arei at mekudeshet li betabat zu kedat Moshe beIsrael." So he bought it. It was obviously, we all buy gold rings. Actually, not all. Some, according to the Ben Ish Chai, some people in Mexico do this a lot. Syrians in Mexico, they buy silver because it's midas harachamim, whatever. But okay, most of us use gold. Okay. Actually, in Turkey, they don't say betabaz zu kedat Moshe beIsrael. They say bezaav shebetabat zu kedat Moshe beIsrael. It's interesting that on the gold that's within, that may be better our words, we shall soon. Anyways, he gives it to her. Everybody's super happy. Mazel tov, the wedding. All of a sudden, 3 days later, he realizes it was supposed to be white gold, and it wasn't white gold. It was silver. So the question now is, first, two questions. Is she married or not? And the second question is, does he get his money back or not? And does one thing have to make a difference with the other? It is clear. Why? Because as far as the first question, there's a question of that. When she accepts the ring, she needs to know that this is Shave Pruta. It needs to be worth a minimum amount. But she is looking at it, and that's part of the reason why we don't use any stones on it. We don't want anything to divert from the fact that this is a basic ring made out of gold that you are getting, and in exchange for that, you are becoming his wife. So the question is, here she saw what she thought was gold, and it really wasn't gold. So it's called Mekach Taus. You know, it's a wrong transaction on the wrong assumptions, because it's a law that when you sell something, this is different than Oina. Oina is exclusively on the price. What happens when the difference is not on the price but on the quality of the item? I wanted to buy gold and you gave me silver. I wanted to buy a working washing machine and it doesn't work. I wanted to buy a good car and the car doesn't pan out to be what I expected.
Well, wasn't her das on the Shava Pruta, not on the gold and the silver?
Was it? But she saw gold. Maybe not. Because once she saw gold,
but she said, I'm only getting married to this guy if this is gold. That was her das?
So actually, you already starting to sound like the Mordechai, which is a good thing, very good thing. Right? The Mordechai actually says exactly what you're saying. He says it doesn't matter. Since you never told her that it's actually gold, you just gave her the ring, and she accepted the ring, and the ring, whatever it's worth, so therefore, it's already fine. By the way, according to the Turkish customs, to say that I'm in Mekadesh with the gold within this ring, that would be a problem. Because I told you explicitly, I want to marry you in exchange for the gold, and there was no gold here. So that would be a problem. So, but the Tashbetz, the Beis Yosef brings the Tashbetz, who says no. Who says it is going to be a problem because she saw gold, she thought it was gold, and as far as we know, that's the only reason why she accepted to marry you. Because
you never said gold.
You didn't really stipulate.
Even if you never said, exactly. Even if you never said, but why should? I think every Kala assumes that it's gold. Have you ever seen anybody? Yeah. I have never seen anybody not to do it like that. So it has to be gold. And then the Rama really solves this issue because the Rama says, have you seen that the Mesader Kiddushin calls over the Eidim and he says to the witnesses, he shows them the ring and he says, is this a Shave Pruta? Is this worth, how do you say Pruta? Is there a Pruta in English? It's not Pruta in English. A penny, yeah, but it's not really a penny. It's, right? He says, is this Shave Pruta? And they say yes. Why do we do that? Why does the Mesader Kiddushin make sure it's a Shave Pruta when it's actually quite obvious? So the Rama says that probably the Kala is not even really looking at the item. She doesn't see the ring necessarily, and she needs to hear from the Eidim that it's a Shave Pruta. And that's all that matters. It matters that this ring has the absolute minimum value to be able to do the transaction of Kiddushin, and that's good enough. So according to this Rama, it's going to be totally fine. The only issue is that in today's day and age, some Mesader Kiddushin sometimes don't do it. Others often speak to the Eidim, but not to the Hassan and Kala. And actually, the Hassan and Kala have no idea what's going on. They just hear the rabbis saying something in Hebrew to each other, and they don't really understand what's going on. So this wouldn't save us so well. It would be a little bit of a problem in this case. But now to let's assume as far as her thoughts, her thinking that she's accepting the ring is not a problem, and she's fine with the ring regardless if it's gold, silver, as long as it's Shave Pruta, it's totally fine. What about you getting your money back? I go to the person, any jewelers here? Any jewelers? Nobody. Huh. Somebody just got saved from being the victim of the shear. Okay, so I go to the jeweler. Actually, Mr. Goldberg is going to work out well here. Okay. So I go to Mr. Goldberg, I'm the Hassan, and I tell him, you need to give me, you sold me, what you told me was a gold ring. It comes out, it's not gold. Look, it's silver. Give me my money back.
That seems more of a clear-cut case.
So what happens then?
Why shouldn't he go
First of all, two questions. Does he need to give me my money back? And second question, if he does give me my money back, am I married?
What's the risk?
You understand the question? Because the question is, now that he gives me my money back, does it go all the way back to the point of sale? And now it cancels the sale, and therefore I was never married. It was never mine, and if it was never mine, I'm not married.
Is it retroactive, in other words?
Retroactive.
Suppose he only gives him the difference between the gold price and the silver price. He's still paying for the ring.
Yeah, but the difference, I'm giving it to you under the assumption of what? That the original transaction was void because I gave you the wrong item, or it's just because now you're unhappy? That's part of the question. Even if I just give you the difference in price, if the whole entire transaction was void originally, only now the ring is becoming mine.
We have to first decide whether it's void or it's voidable.
Very good. You have to play your cards right, because if you just go back to Mr. Goldberg and ask for your money back, you may be nullifying your whole entire wedding. This is a machlokes. This is.
Marriage is consummated there are 3 ways.
Yeah.
2 ways. Kedushin is 3 ways. We do all 3 ways. So even though one way didn't work, why would that?
There's no Adam the rest of the time.
Huh?
There's no Adam the rest of the time.
Why is there no Adam?
There's no Adam.
There is no star. There is by the Bia there is no Edim.
Why is there no star? What about Ziksuba?
Ziksuba is not a star. A star would be a star that says Aread Mekudeshet Li. There is no star like that. So you for sure have a problem. If the actual Kiddushin doesn't work, in all cases you have a problem. Fascinating.
You thought you were fighting in sushi.
Sorry,
I know this is exactly. It's a more somber fight with the fire and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Star.
It's gonna be hard to fight with this one.
Yeah, exactly.
So essentially the question is, does it go back, and it's as if it was null,
Okay.
the void, the sale is void.
Okay, so we have, first of all,
When was the transaction nullified?
oh,
The time of the sale, or was it?
or is
when
it a
you
good,
returned
so that's really the question. Every time you have a mekach taus, mekach ta'ud, you have a transaction that wasn't the item. In Mexico they have an expression, a cat for a rabbit, or something. They don't have that in English. Whatever, I don't know. Whatever. So you got the wrong thing. Not what you expected. So that is the question. Why isn't it good? How does it work? So we have 2 opinions. There's more than 2, but we have 2 main opinions. One, Rabbi Kiva says that the reason why it doesn't void is not because the whole transaction wasn't good, but rather that there is an assumed t'nai condition on the sale that what you're selling me is that you are telling me that you're selling me. That you told me gold, it's gold. You told me silver is silver, and if it isn't, I get to bring it back to you and you need to give me my money back. Right? It's a condition. It's a condition that even though nobody explicitly stated, nonetheless it applies. That's Rabbi Kiva. And the Beis Halevi says that no, that really when I go into a transaction, everything is based on the Kmirus Das, on that this is what I think I'm getting, and if this is not what I thought I was getting, then I gave my money for no reason, and therefore the transaction is completely void. So this is going to affect our case. According to Rabbi Akiva, that is just a t'nai. You are going to enter into a question whether a condition that you yourself set up from the beginning, are you able to cancel it and say, I'm not interested in my condition anymore? I said, I'm going to give you this $100,000 with the condition that you give half of it to somebody else. And then I regret it. I don't want you to give it to that other person. Can I go back on my condition? Obviously, once I already gave you the money and everything went through. So the Rashba says that you can't. You cannot. Once the condition was set at the beginning, that's it. The condition has to be applied. But the Shulchan Aruch paskins that, like the Ran, that you could cancel. So according to this, Rabbi Akiva is fine, because you can say that there was a condition based from the time of the sale, and the sale was fine, but there was a condition that if I don't want the item because it was the wrong item, then I get to give it back. But that's only a right that I have, that I get to give it back. I don't want to exercise my right. It's my prerogative. That's a word, right, in English? Good. So I don't want to exercise my rights. I just don't want. Why? Because I want to stay married. So, which is a shaila also. You know, I guess if he doesn't want to, he has a very easy way out. But don't tell anybody I said that. Yeah, not to be quoted. So, according to the Beis Halevi, it's going to be a little bit harder to get out of the problem because from the beginning, this was never my ring. I paid for gold and I didn't get gold, I only got silver, so this shouldn't even be my ring from the beginning. So what are we going to do? Is this guy really not married? And then what is he going to have to do? He's going to have to separate himself from his wife and wait until he gets to 18 and to be able to, and 10 people.
He doesn't want to exercise prerogatives, so to speak.
The other way to look at it is it's not your prerogative, it's just
right.
Would the same apply if you get a real diamond versus
CZ.
What?
Yeah. Cubic zirconia.
What do they make in the lab?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, lab made.
That's cubic zirconia.
No, lab made is.
But we never use it for kiddushin. So, but you're right. If I did use it for kiddushin, and she thought I was giving her a diamond ring worth $10,000, and comes out that it was lab made and it's only $150, no question we would have a problem. It would be the same thing. So, to cut it short a little bit.
Wait, does it matter how far off it is? Like with Ona? Like let's say she thought it was gold.
These guys are completely
24
ready to
carats.
join the Kollel. Right? What are they doing practicing law all day long? They should, they're in the wrong place. Very good. So by Oina, there is a limit of time. The time that usually would take for somebody to actually check the price. People used to buy stuff and check the price within a certain rate, showing to somebody that knows. Today, most of the time you're not going to have, because of what you said before, that there's so much information available at our fingertips. Usually you're not going to get more than a day, maximum 2, to be able to actually go back and complain about the price in Oina. But in Mekach Taus there's no limit of time. If I gave you silver instead of gold, even 10 years later you can go back to me, give me back my silver and take back your money. If I can prove, we are always assuming right now that everybody agrees. I agree that I made a mistake. I gave you silver, and but if there is differences of opinion whether it really happened or not, that's another set of laws is going to start applying.
You're buying gold. Someone's representing that it's gold, and he's really selling you silver. 10 years later, he's not going to say, you know what? 10 years ago, I cheated you. Not going to happen.
Okay. Maybe not, and then the proof is going to have to be brought by the guy taking the money. You're going to have to prove that he really sold you silver, because how do we even know that it's the same ring? So whatever it is going to have to be proven. To they have cameras all over the place. I don't know whether the camera is going to be with enough, resolution to be able to figure out whether this is silver, gold, whatever it is, 2 witnesses, but that's a different issue. We are always assuming right now that everybody agrees. I did tshuva. I used to sell actually a lot of rings that were made out of silver, telling people that it was platinum. And I made a lot of money and I regret it. And now that you come back to me, so actually I'll be happy to give you your money back. Bottom line is, how do we make sure that this happens? So, Rabbi Eliashiv and Rav Vosner, they both write that in the case of Kiddushin, it still would work because I want this transaction retroactively to be good. Since I bought it from the beginning, if I bought it because I am a jeweler and I'm just buying merchandise, and then I said, okay, let me just use one of my rings to be able to get married, so then it would be actually, according to the Beis Halevi, you're not married, you need to redo the whole entire thing again. But if I did it, I bought this ring specifically and I wanted to buy it for my wedding, which is usually the case. So then from the beginning I was moichel. If there was any problem with it, I don't want there to be a problem. So I'm willing to be taken for a ride, I'm willing to be swindled, doesn't matter, anything. I just want to make sure that at the moment of my wedding was kosher and everything was fine and I'm married, and whatever, if I endured a loss, no, too bad. Life happens, and that's that.
Unduly harsh. I mean, in all respects, the marriage was consummated, and everybody believed that it was supposed to marry. And then all of a sudden, someone finds out that someone was cheating. Does that undo all of the
if he wants to
change the position that the husband and wife made to each other, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, that halacha is very technical, and things that have halachic requirements are always going to be either valid or void based on details that need to be exercised. The same thing if the two witnesses of the wedding were brothers. My father was a rabbi, Zichrono Libracha. I'm a rabbi too, and we did many weddings together where we were never actually together. It was either him, one of the Eidim, and he was the one actually, or it was me, and whenever it wasn't me, I would step back. And if I would have been together with my father, and we were both the witnesses of the wedding, like by my niece when she got married, the whole entire marriage is also null and void. There is no Eidim, there is no wedding, and even though you're right, it's a small detail, relatively speaking, of the whole entire party and whatever it is, nonetheless the wedding is completely void and it doesn't count.
I have a question in regards to terms of use that are agreed upon before a sale. Today, in the United States, they do a lot of arbitration clauses, or those terms of use that say final sale. How does Halacha work with that when the buyer, prior to going into the sale, has already agreed and foregone certain rights that the Torah already provides in the Choshen Mishpat?
So I don't think there is, Rabbi Blazer will help us also. I don't think there's a blanket rule for every case. I think that every case is going to be different. Sometimes yes, sometimes when you agreed to and you signed and you said this is my agreement, you're allowed to agree to many things when it comes to monetary transactions, and your agreement is your agreement. Odaat ba'aldin keme'adim dame. You know, that the fact that you want to do it, you want to give it, that has a lot of value. Also, minhag hamedina and ilchesed malchus adina, the customs in the country. For example, what's a megach taus? What is the wrong item? What a little scratch on a car means that the whole entire sale is void or not? Maybe it depends if it's a new car or if it's a used car, and all that is going to depend on what's the custom in the place, what's the minhag hamakom, and dina de malchus adina will have certain implications. So I think every case is going to have to be dealt with. But yes, you are right that in many cases it will make a big difference if you actually signed in on it and you accepted the terms of doing business in this place and with this person. Finally, and with this I finish, what happens if you decided to forgo all of your rights and whatever, and because you want to stay married and you don't want to pay for another wedding, which is probably very wise of you, but it hurts, you know. Has that happened to you? You know, it hurts, and you want at least some of your money back. So what do? Are you allowed to do something? So Rabbi Zilberstein says you could go back to Mr. Goldberg. You cannot tell him, I want the transaction to be void. This is megach taus, you swindle me, you whatever, and that the whole entire thing shouldn't count. You cannot tell him that, because if you tell him that, then your whole entire wedding doesn't count anymore. But you could tell him, listen, something happened over here. I underpaid massively for what you sold me. I would like you to please make me whole. So you cannot take him to basin, you cannot force him to do anything, but you can certainly ask him nicely if he wants to make it up to you. Maybe he realizes, hopefully he's embarrassed of what happened, what he did, and if he does want to give you back money completely willingly, then that would be okay, and it wouldn't affect the kiddushin. So that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoy your meals and also your spiritual meal. Too late. No, really. Thank you.
Plate for coffee. Here's the place.